This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, coming to you from the studios of the X-Zone in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Exonation, my guest this hour is Doug Elwell, and Doug is the publisher of Mysterious World, an online journal dedicated to travel, history, and ancient mysteries of the world. Doug has a master's degree in Biblical and Ancient Near Eastern Studies and Marketing Communications from Wheaton College Graduate School. And he just has he has so much experience when it comes to researching and writing religion, history, mythology, and travel. His first book, Mysterious World Ireland, received critical acclaim, and he's also the author of Planet X. And this hour, we're going to be talking to Doug about his brand new book that it will be available exclusively on Amazon Kindle later on this evening. The name of the book, The Riddle of the Sphinx. Joining me now is Doug Elwell. And Doug, congratulations on yet another book.
Thanks very much, Rob.
Doug, why is there such a fascination with Egypt? You know, it seems that no matter who you talk to, whenever you start talking about ancient mysteries, biblical times, Egypt is always brought into the mix. Why?
Well, Egypt seems to have be the kind of the mother of all mysteries. All the ancient artifacts and the pyramids, and particularly the Sphinx, appears to be really the symbol of all things mysterious. For Mysterious World, I've always used the Sphinx as kind of one of the main symbols, next to an image of the world itself, of course, because it was always kind of the ultimate symbol of mystery, and some people believe might actually hide underneath its right paw, a secret chamber which may have hidden secrets from before the flood.
There are so many mysteries that have been yet to be discovered in Egypt. For example, there's still the controversy on how the pyramids were actually built. Apparently, some archaeologists believe that there's a massive library that is still covered up. And of course, the discovery of the ancient tombs themselves is an ongoing process. But in your new book, The Riddle of the Sphinx, you take on a different look at something quite differently.
Well, I think the idea that was proposed actually most recently by Edgar Cayce, that there was, in fact, a secret chamber underneath the Sphinx which held what was called the Hall of Records, a compendium of all knowledge from before the flood and really possibly of all mankind, past, present, and future. Now, the reason he thought of this was apparently he'd seen this in a vision, but other people have followed up since then and found through various testing and surveying of the area around the Sphinx that there are, in fact, chambers underneath the Sphinx, hidden underneath the paw, and underneath the body itself. Strangely, though, even though they have proven that there are secret chambers underneath the Sphinx, and possibly leading out from the Sphinx to other areas on the Giza Plateau, including the pyramids, no one, the Zahi Hawass and the Egypt's Bureau of Antiquities refuses anyone to dig underneath the Sphinx or around it. One wonders why. What are they hiding?
Well, let's talk about that when we come back from this commercial break. X-Zone Nation, Doug Elwell is my guest. He's the author of Planet X, The Sign of the Son of Man and the End of Age, as well as MysteriousWorld.com. Two websites, www.mysteriousworld.com and www.planet-x.info. Doug Elwell is my guest. We're talking about his new book, which is released tonight exclusively on Amazon Kindle, The Riddle of the Sphinx. My name is Rob McConnell. Doug Elwell and I return on the other side of this 2-minute commercial break. Don't go away. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I just received an email or a press release from Stephen Bassett from the Paradigm Research Group. And as you know, we had Stephen on a number of weeks ago, and in order for his petition with reference to the secrecy and conspiracy of UFOs to actually go forward, they needed 25,000 signatures. Well, the final number came in, X-Zone Nation, and the final count was only 6,937. What does this mean? Are people getting a little tired of this conspiracy theory when it comes to UFOs? Well, we're trying to get a hold of Stephen Bassett and get him on the show later on this week to ask him what really happened on the Disclosure Petition 2, which was also called the Rockefeller Initiative. This hour, Doug Elwell is our guest. We know Doug very well here at the X-Zone. He's written a number of books, and he's got a brand new book that's available tonight exclusively on Amazon Kindle entitled The Riddle of the Sphinx. Now, before we went to the commercial break, we were talking very, very briefly on the Sphinx. Why do you think that the Bureau of Antiquities in Egypt really doesn't want to work with archaeologists and people on expeditions when it comes to discovering if there is in fact a room beneath the Sphinx?
One can only speculate, because you'd think that the most important and famous artifact around the world, the Sphinx, one of the most famous artifacts in the world, maybe some people think the most famous statue also. If there was something associated with the mysterious Hall of Records, and artifacts underneath it that they would want to dig into there, find them, and put them on display to enhance the tourist trade, because that's largely what they depend upon for their living is the tourism. But they don't. Not only do they not allow anyone else to do it, they themselves are not doing it. So I'm asking, what are they hiding? Why aren't they allowing excavation underneath the Sphinx, even if it's non-destructive? They aren't allowing anything. What could possibly be so important that they don't want anyone to find it?
Well, is it possible that there's nothing there at all, and that if it was to be proven that there was nothing there, that they would be at a tourist loss instead of a tourist gain?
I don't know. I think the fact that there was a secret chamber underneath the Sphinx would actually enhance tourism, because even if there was nothing in it, it's still the fact that there's a secret chamber is interesting. And it would also shut up the critics who are constantly complaining, why don't you open up the chamber underneath the Sphinx and find out what's there?
But Doug, we don't know for a fact that there is a chamber, am I correct?
No, they did find one using seismic surveys. There is definitely large chambers underneath the Sphinx. That's been proven.
Wow.
Just a question, why aren't they digging out and finding them, or at least trying additional surveys to verify?
Well, you've been investigating Egypt for a number of years, Doug. What is your hypothesis? What do you believe the reasoning is?
My reasoning is that they are keeping the place sealed because there's something so powerful and so dangerous underneath the Sphinx that they do not want anyone getting at it. In fact, it may be the fact that there may be a tradition, an old priesthood tradition of people who have kept the Sphinx for a long time and who have, as part of their tradition, made sure that no one got under the Sphinx. I suspect there might be some kind of brotherhood, something working behind the scenes to make sure these secrets remain secret. And I won't name names, but I think certain important people working on the Giza Plateau and in charge of it may be part of that society.
What do you think could be so powerful that they'd want to suppress this?
Well, my theory was that it is something akin to the Ark of the Covenant. It's not the Ark of the Covenant itself, but something like it. Something before the time of the flood that was so dangerous it had to be disassembled and hidden. Each individual piece taken apart and hidden throughout various parts of Egypt. And that my theory was that Osiris, the god Osiris of the Egyptian mythology, was actually not a man or even a god, but actually a machine of some kind. And it was so powerful, this machine, it had to be disassembled and the pieces hidden. And some of the most important pieces, I think, might be hidden underneath the Sphinx. Part of the reason I come to that conclusion is that the riddle, when I was doing my research into related issues, I came across a prophecy in the book of Genesis called when the patriarch Jacob blessed all the tribes, and he gave them prophecies concerning their future, particularly their futures regarding the end times. And there's a particularly interesting prophecy regarding Judah, whose descendants are what we now know as the Jews. And that it is called, this is how it goes. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched his lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? That's Genesis 49:9. And basically what we have there is a description of Judah being described as like a lion. Not only a lion who is young, but also a lion who is an adult and a lion who is old. And so this tripartite approach of the three ages of Judah, I think, are related to the riddle of the Sphinx, in that they're divided into three ages, youth, adulthood, and old age. This is the essence of the riddle of the Sphinx. And in the end times, Judah will return as the old lion, and he won't be a weak lion, this time he'll be strong, and he will find this ancient secret underneath the Sphinx, because the description of Judah as a lion is, I think, kind of a coded way of describing what the Sphinx is. He's referring to the Sphinx, specifically something that is hidden underneath the Sphinx.
Well, if that's the case, is it possible that the Sphinx could also be related to the Book of Revelations and end times, and going along with the hypothesis that there may have been, or there is something buried there that should not be found, and that there is a connection between the past, the present, and the future?
That's exactly right. In fact, my theory is that the beast, the scarlet beast described in Revelation 17, and the dragon is actually referring to the Sphinx. The Sphinx was actually originally colored red, and as many people have noted, it actually has had its head recarved at least once. The original head would have been probably a lion, which would have been much larger. The current head is more like a pinhead. It's about one-third of the size it should be.
It doesn't make sense when you look at it. It's not in proportion.
Right, it's much smaller than it should be. My theory was that it's been recarved 7 times, thus the description of a beast with 7 heads. Over time, the head was recarved 7 times, one for each pharaoh who was arrogant enough to recarve his face onto the Sphinx. And the smallest one was like a pinhead, probably the last in line of pharaohs, after which pharaonic Egypt kind of went into decline, and there was never a power afterwards. So my theory is that the beast is actually the Sphinx, and the description of the beast rising out of the pit is this description of the beast, of the Sphinx being unburied from underneath the sands, and it was actually dug out of a pit or an enclosure. Moreover, it was first rediscovered, and the unburying process begun by Napoleon, who was considered to be the first of 3 antichrists, and more recently, and actually Hitler's Wehrmacht was actually occupied Egypt for a while too. And possibly my belief is that there will be a combined Western/Jewish army which will invade Egypt, probably as a result of the anarchic conditions and possible Muslim Brotherhood problems with the army attacking or threatening to attack Israel. They'll go in there as a pretext, conquer Egypt, and go to the Sphinx and find what is hidden under there. What they find under there is so powerful it will allow them to conquer the world.
How does this work in conjunction with Christianity and other religious beliefs? Are there cross-references to the Sphinx within the different texts of religious philosophies?
Well, Sphinx isn't really mentioned in Christianity, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. I believe it is referred to obliquely, or at least indirectly, in the prophecy of Judah. And there's also another prophecy of Gad that Moses gave regarding what I believe is actually Gad, one of the patriarchs, the sons of Jacob, one of the 12 tribes. One of the tribes' name was named Gad after this person. And it says in the text, if you retranslate his prophecy that Moses gave of him in the end times, it says, Gad dwells as a lion, and he tears the arm with the crown of the head, and that's in the King James. But if you look at the Hebrew, it literally says, he crouches like a lion, and he tore apart the arm, the nose, and double crown. So he literally tore apart the arm. And after that, which we believe, some people believe, I believe, actually has a secret passage which leads to a secret chamber underneath the Sphinx. And that is Deuteronomy 33:20. And the next verse is even more interesting. If you look at the original Hebrew, it literally says, he found the ancient stone in the secret chamber that had been carved out underneath the Sphinx.
Wow.
And he brought it up to the heads of the people, placing it on the top of a pole that he had made, and set upright in order to communicate with the Lord. And with it, he was able to properly dispense justice to Israel. So my theory is this ancient device was sort of some kind of a stone, possibly a sapphire stone, which is set on top of a pole, and it has somehow very powerful. And my theory is it's very similar to the Ark of the Covenant, and its ability is, in fact, maybe even more powerful.
Is it possible that it is, in fact, the elusive Ark of the Covenant?
I thought it might be when I first started writing this, but I realize now this is something even more powerful and more dangerous. The Ark of the Covenant was, it might be. The Ark of the Covenant, my research of the Ark of the Covenant, I realized that it's may actually have been what you could call a supercomputer, which also had aspects of, had other things too, but it was basically a computer, a way of storing massive amounts of data, and also act as a two-way communication device that God used to communicate with his priests, specifically Moses and Aaron and others.
How about it being a Stargate?
I don't think it's a Stargate because there's no mention of being used to actually travel with. But there is specific mention of God using it to communicate with Moses, literally face-to-face.
Wow.
In the book of Numbers, it says that God was able to speak to Moses, and Moses to God, back and forth in a conversational way, face-to-face between the cherubim, which were on the top of the Ark of the Covenant. And I believe that was because there was a huge sapphire stone that was basically acted as a screen like a television set.
Right. All right, Doug, stand by. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exonation Doug Elwell is our guest. His new book, The Riddle of the Sphinx becomes available tonight, exclusively on Amazon Kindle. Doug Elwell and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break. After the news, don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. 1-800-610-7035 is our toll-free number. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'd like to welcome a new affiliate to the X-Zone affiliate family, KHXI FM 99.9 in Oklahoma. Welcome to the X-Zone, guys, and to all the listeners of KHXI. Welcome. This is one place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. And the good people in Oklahoma are now listening to the X-Zone starting at 10 o'clock each and every night, Monday through Friday, until 6 o'clock in the morning. Wow. Also, X-Zone Nation, if you'd like to listen to the X-Zone 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, just go to xzbn.net/live HTM. That's www.xzbn.net/live.htm. Doug Elwell is my special guest this hour, www.mysteriousworld.com and www.planet-x.info. He's got a brand new book that is being released tonight exclusively on Amazon Kindle, The Riddle of the Sphinx. Once again, Doug, congratulations. And before we went to the commercial break, we just started to talk about the Ark of the Covenant. And what can you tell us about the Ark of the Covenant? Was it a computer? Was it a communication device? How was it constructed?
It was actually both and a lot more. It was kind of almost like a remote control robot in some ways. It was actually able to be controlled remotely by God. Now, people think that the Levites actually carried the Ark around wherever they wanted to, and it would shoot out its fire and destroy their enemies, and that was it. Not so. In fact, the Ark could be remote controlled. In fact, in the book of Numbers, Moses actually sent it out without the Levites. He gave it a voice command, and it would fly out and search for a new place for the Israelites to encamp. It would go out by itself and then come back to him after a while once it found a new place to camp. This was like a more than just something you'd see in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was actually something that could fly around. It could move around on its own. It could behave intelligently and make decisions. So my theory was, and based on a lot more information I found in the process over the years, that the Ark of the Covenant was actually a remote control computer, which was actually artificially intelligent. It was capable of doing quite a few different things, including some advanced computer-like functions. Now, the Ark, the secret of the Ark is the fact that what are called the testimony stones. Now, these stones are actually two stones, twin stones, that are not typically like this these blocks of granite you see like in the Ten Commandments.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually probably circular, lens-shaped things, probably about the size of a softball or maybe a basketball. But they're also lens-shaped and relatively thin, so they're not as big as a basketball, but they're about the same width. And the word sefer, which means book, describing these things, the book of the law, the testimony stone. The word sefer has a number of different cognate and closely related words which give clues as to what these things actually were. First of all, the word sefer is closely related to the word saphir in Hebrew, which is where we get our modern term sapphire, the jewel named sapphire. So, and it also says in the rabbinic traditions that these two books, which were stones, were also made of sapphire. They weren't made of like granite, chiseled crudely with a hammer and chisel. Another interesting cognate is the word safar in Hebrew, which means to number or count or compute or calculate. Also is the word cipher, which we get our modern term cipher, something that is encoded. So to encode information is a related concept in this book that is a sapphire. And also, even more interestingly, is the word Hebrew cognate safar, to go in a circle. So with these testimony stones, which held massive amounts of information, they apparently had the entire law and possibly a lot more encoded into them. They are books that are sapphires that compute, encode information, and go in a circle. That is, in fact, a perfect description of what the next generation of data storage will be. We'll be using what's called three-dimensional optical storage in large crystals. The next generation of hard drives will actually not be just metal with magnetic coating. They'll actually be three-dimensional crystals where you have a laser writing not just one dimension, X and Y, on a single layer. They're actually doing thousands or even millions of different layers, having a much larger amount of data available to you. In fact, DVDs do this now with several layers. I think you have 6 or 7 layers on a DVD, which is why it holds so much more than a CD-ROM, because it's using the Z-axis to encode layers of information. So my theory is that these books that were sapphires are actually used to encode massive amounts of information in a form of storage that we now are coming up with called 3D optical storage or even holographic data storage, where you use lasers to holographically write data in massively parallel processing as opposed to kind of linear, one at a time, which is how we do it now.
Let me ask you this, Doug. Where do you think this technology came from so many thousands of years ago? Way before modern time actually has come up with this knowledge.
That's an excellent question. And Exodus actually says that Moses didn't create these things. He never did anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
God himself handed these things to him and said, here they are. This is the book of the law I'm giving to you. This is our new covenant. Because the covenant, the concept of the covenant, the Mosaic covenant or the Noahic covenant or the Abrahamic covenant, is the concept that it was always chiseled into a stone somehow. Now, it seems unlikely that God would use a hammer and chisel the covenant into some granite blocks. He'd probably do something that's fairly sophisticated. And I believe he was able to leverage existing technology to store data in a way that is far in advance of anything we've ever done. And as a result, he gave us what we are just now beginning to understand, what was a 3D optical storage device, which used a laser to read and write from the disk and store massive amounts of information. Now, what was particularly interesting about that, when I realized that it involved a laser, because you need a laser in order to be able to read and write to this kind of disk. There's no other way to do it. But this might explain how the Ark was able to defend itself also. It says in the rabbinic traditions also that the Ark sent out sparks to destroy things that are in the way, like snakes and scorpions and thorn bushes, to clear the way for Israel as they went through the wilderness. It would make sense if you have lasers in the cherubim, one on either side. They said there's actually 2 lasers, or 2 sparks that came out of it. This is what you would need: one to read, one to write to the disk. And also, what you could do is you could redirect these lasers by reflecting them and the internal reflections on the disk itself, and massively multiply the power of the laser and turn it into a weapon. So you have a situation where you have not only the ability to read and write to a disk using a laser, you can also use that laser as a weapon, which perfectly describes the ability of the Ark to kill large amounts of people in battle using fire. But apparently it was able to generate what we would call a battlefield laser, which, if sufficiently powered, could literally cut through an entire army in a matter of seconds. And this is what happened to some of the enemies of Israel. They would wipe out the entire army in a matter of minutes or even seconds using the ark. And that's why they were so feared, because once the ark showed up, that means everyone in the opposing army was dead in a matter of minutes.
Is there any other place in the religious philosophies or in archaeological artifacts or even in history that mentions the Ark of the Covenant besides the Bible?
There's, of course, the Ethiopian traditions that are related, but that's more of a Christian tradition, which draws upon also Judaism. It's kind of a combination of Judaism and Christianity. They believe that the ark was taken by Menelik, one of the sons of Solomon, and who he had with Sheba, taken from there and taken to Ethiopia, where they believe it remains to this day.
Is there any mention in Egyptian history about the ark? Because if the ark was this powerful and this technologically advanced, wouldn't the Egyptians have this written about?
That's an excellent question. I'm glad you asked that. There is something very similar to the Ark of the Covenant, or something that has similar characteristics. That was called the Eye of Re. Now, the Eye of Re in the mythology was this headdress that various deities wore, specifically Re and Hathor and Sekhmet. And whenever these deities were in danger, it said it would shoot out fire to destroy anyone who tried to harm them. And this headdress could actually independently take off and fly around on its own.
Wow.
And it occasionally did do this. In the myth of the Eye of Re, there's a story when the god Re was being disrespected by mankind. They saying he was too old, he was out of date, he was no longer relevant, and they were disrespecting him. So to punish them, he sent forth his crown, the Eye of Re, and it would fly around Egypt, basically sending out rays of fire and destroying people in order to teach them a lesson. It was said to be like Sekhmet, the goddess of destruction, when it did this. But after a while, when the headdress, this Eye of Re that was flying around shooting out fire, Re decided it was enough, but the headdress wouldn't listen to him. So they decided. Some of the priests of Heliopolis, who understood the secret of the eye, or the Eye of Re, poured out about 200 barrels full of red-colored beer. And apparently the Eye of Re saw this and started drinking out of this beer. And it turned from its Sekhmet destruct mode to Hathor, the goddess of pleasure and good times. So it's kind of interesting that in this myth of the ancient Egyptians, they had something that was very similar. The ark could fly around on its own. It had a central stone which would shoot out fire. And there's also cognates in Hebrew stories to this, but I don't remember what it is offhand. But there is a lot of similarities between this Eye of Re stone and the Ark of the Covenant. They both have similar characteristics, similar abilities, and are used in the same way.
How about Greek mythology? Is there anything that parallels the Ark of the Covenant within Greek mythology that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of. Really, Egyptian mythology is the only one that has anything that's significantly similar. The Eye of Re is so similar to these, exactly the same. In fact, it's my theory that the Eye of Re is the object that is buried underneath the Sphinx. An object similar to the Ark of the Covenant, except more powerful. And this eye, this stone, which is also a sapphire stone, but larger, similar kind of setup with the lasers and that used to access the data and also to destroy people who are a potential threat. This will be found by the Antichrist, I suspect, and this will be used to conquer the world in the end times. It'll give him a qualitative advantage over all opposition. Since this thing can operate at near the speed of light, it can shoot down any number of ballistic missiles probably coming at it, shoot down individual bullets. Because when you understand lasers operate near the speed of light, you could get off millions of shots in a space that a gun could shoot maybe one. So there's no comparison. It would wipe out any opposing army. And you could have 1 million soldiers shooting 1 million bullets, and they could take out every single one before they even hit the target. That's the next generation, actually, of battlefield technology for the United States is actually laser technology. We have lasers being mounted on battleships. We have them mounted on 747s. Next generation of tanks will have battlefield lasers mounted on them as well. So we're seeing in the end times a revivification of an ancient technology that before the flood allowed certain tyrannical people to conquer the entire world.
You spoke briefly about the Antichrist, which brings us back to doom and gloom, the book of Revelations, the apocalypse. When will we know who the Antichrist is? When will we know if he is actually here? How do we know for a fact there is an Antichrist?
Antichrist would be someone who would be attempt to rule the world using technological means rather than spiritual ones. It will be a warlike person who used high technology to conquer the world. And this is the end game of my analysis. Actually, near the end of the book, I determined that the beast from the earth, in Revelation 13, the Antichrist is frequently associated with this beast from the earth. And it's described as the beast of the earth is described as something that is buried underneath the earth, which rises out of the earth. And it has the following abilities. It has the ability to call fire from heaven. It has the ability to control the world's currency and make the people, force them to take a mark. It could speak like a dragon. It would speak like a human being, like a dragon. It would speak intelligently. Right. And it was interesting that I noted that in order to do that, it would have to be able to hack into our computer systems in order to do that. And if this was indeed a supercomputer from the ancient world, it would be able to do that very easily. In fact, the word for lawgiver that is used to describe the stone that Gad found underneath the Sphinx back during the time of Joseph actually is the word mehokek. And the root of that, mehokek literally means lawgiver or leader or even scepter. But the root of that is the word hakak, which means to cut into or hack or carve. So the concept of this thing is it is a lawgiver which is able to hack in to other systems.
Stand by, Doug. You and I have to take our final break. Doug Elwell is our guest. He's got a brand new book that's only available on Amazon Kindle tonight, The Riddle of the Sphinx. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
18 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. X-Zone Doug Elwell is my guest this hour, www.mysteriousworld.com and www.planet-x.info. Doug's book, Planet X, The Sign of the Son of Man and the End of the Age, is available at planet-x.info, and tonight on Amazon Kindle, The Riddle of the Sphinx is available. Doug, is it possible that the end of the world is tied into a computer?
Well, yeah. My theory is that and people have speculated on this separately before I came up with this theory, is that there will be a centralized computer system that will basically force everyone to take a mark and force them into a situation, an economic situation, where they cannot buy or sell without having this mark, and this is described in Revelation 13.
Sounds like the internet.
And exactly, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you translate the letters www into Hebrew, actually the number 666, in Hebrew, the letters are also used as numbers. So www in Hebrew is 666, and this is all part of the same system. And my theory is that this ancient supercomputer, which is buried underneath the Sphinx, which was so powerful it had to be carefully hidden, will be revealed in the end times and used to hack into all computer systems around the world and force people to take this mark, and it'll be a central computer control for the entire world. And this is why it was carefully hidden all this time, because it was so dangerous. This was probably used in the world before the flood. It was so powerful that wars were fought over it, and in the end it was actually disassembled and buried. Thus the myth of Osiris being disassembled and buried. Osiris may have actually been an ancient supercomputer, not a man or even a god, which in this case, based on my analysis, the supercomputer would be far more dangerous than any god, because it would literally be able to hack into the internet and force everyone to do whatever it says, or else they wouldn't be able to buy or sell. And this image of the beast will be the image it projects on its own screen. It'll be able to create whatever image it wants using lasers and create holographic images and so forth. So my theory is that basically what it comes down to, the net is what's buried underneath the Sphinx is an ancient supercomputer so powerful that whoever turns it on will probably regret it, because it will not only probably kill them, it'll kill anybody who tries to switch it off.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be unable to do so, and only a more powerful being, possibly Jesus himself, will be able to have the power in order to destroy this thing. It's so strong that it's almost invincible.
Just one quick thought that came to mind, Doug. We've got about a minute and a half left. Is it possible that certain religious manifestations like the Lady of Fatima are actually holographic images projected by this supercomputer?
Probably not by the supercomputer, because it's probably currently disassembled, but it is possible that they are holographic images projected by, demonic entities or whatever, maybe angels, who knows. I'm not sure who did that. There's some questions as to whether or not these prophecies were truly from God. Probably to think they are, but some people think otherwise. But this computer actually has not been found yet. I believe it won't be found until the region around the Sphinx, and indeed all of Egypt, is conquered militarily. And then, only then, will someone be able to dig underneath the Sphinx and bring it back up, because right now Egypt is absolutely adamant no one is allowed to dig under the Sphinx. I think once you read this book, The Riddle of the Sphinx, you'll understand why.
Doug Elwell, thanks very much for joining us. Doug, always a pleasure. Look forward to speaking to you in a couple of weeks as we delve deeper into the mysteries of the ancients with Doug Elwell. Once again, he's got a new book that's available tonight on Amazon Kindle, The Riddle of the Sphinx. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break and the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell.